Adjutorium nostrum in nomine Domini. Our apostolic mandate. Pope St. Pius X. When did he write this?
1910.
What is he condemning?
The Sion.
The Sion errors. Where do we see these errors resurfacing? Absolutely. All right, let's pick up on page 17 on the bottom. The little Sion to the greater Sion. So it started off good, but it went off track. Read on, Anthony.
There was a time when the Sion, as such, was truly Catholic. It recognized but one moral force, Catholicism, and the Sionists were wont to proclaim that democracy would have to be Catholic or would not exist at all. A time came when they changed their minds. They left to each one his religion or his philosophy. They ceased to call themselves Catholics, and for the formula, democracy will be Catholic, they substituted democracy will not be anti-Catholic, any more than it will be anti-Jewish or anti-Buddhist. This was the time of the Greater Sion. For the construction of the future city, they appealed to the workers of all religions and all sects. These were asked but one thing, to share the same social ideal, to respect all creeds, and to bring with them a certain supply of moral force.
What does that sound like?
Freemasonry.
Yeah, sounds like Freemasonry. The conditions for Freemasonry are exactly the same. Let's work for economic progress. Let's look for work together for social reconstruction. But it really doesn't matter what you believe. And that's a danger. Let's all work together against communism. Doesn't matter what you believe. That was the John Birch Society. And that was the danger of the John Birch Society. It doesn't matter what you believe. Right? That's also, in a way, that entered the trad ecumenical world. Let's all join forces against the modernists destroying the church. Doesn't matter if you accept the new Mass or accept the Vatican II a little bit. Let's just work all together, right, to get rid of these modernists who are destroying the Mass. The Mass, the Mass, the Mass. But what about Christ the King? What about the doctrine, right? So this is what Pius X is hammering. Go on.
Admittedly, they declared that, quote, the leaders of the Sion place their religious faith above everything. But can they deny others the right to draw their moral energy from whence they can? In return, they expect others to respect their right to draw their own moral energy from the Catholic faith. Accordingly, they ask all those who want to change today's society in the direction of democracy not to oppose each other on account of the philosophical or religious convictions which may separate them, but to march hand in hand, not renouncing their convictions, but trying to provide on the ground of practical realities the proof of the excellence of their personal convictions. Perhaps a union will be effected on this ground of emulation between souls holding different religions or philosophical convictions, end quote. And they add at the same time, but how could this be accomplished? That, quote, the little Catholic Sion will be the soul of the greater cosmopolitan Sion, end quote.
Yeah, so it's built on religious indifferentism, right? And this is absolutely the spirit of Assisi. This is the spirit of Assisi. This is the spirit of the Second Vatican Council, of all the world religions gathering with the Pope. This is it. Condemned. Pope John Paul II gathering all the world religions in October of 1986. Here it is, condemned. It's all condemned. It's an illusion, and it's a false. It looks friendly, and let's not focus on what divides us. Let's focus on what unites us. But it's a terrible insult to the true God. Look at footnote 17. And this is a direct quote from Marc Sangnier. This passage comes from Marc Sangnier's speech at Rouen in 1907. Pope Pius X, having quoted Marc Sangnier, will now condemn his views in the following paragraphs. It is painfully evident that these views have now won acceptance in the Church, conciliar Church. For instance, Vatican II Constitution Gaudium et Spes is almost totally Zionist in character, no matter how careful the wording may have been. And Pope John's encyclical, John the 23rd, Pacem in Terris, speaks of, quote, extensive cooperation between Catholics, non-Catholics, non-Christians, and unbelievers. This is unbelievable. Pope Pius X took pains, on the other hand, to explain that the character of any action reflects the philosophy or faith of the person concerned. Where there is a sharp conflict between various philosophies and creeds, no constructive action, no cooperation can usefully take place. Indeed, it is not the duty of Catholics to cooperate with a pagan world on an equal footing, but rather to guide it, or, when this is not possible, to lay down their conditions for a useful contribution so that the world may know that it will have to bow down or lose Catholic support. So this is the heart of the whole encyclical, the document right here. Very, very important. Paragraph 34, Guadalupe.
From the Greater Sion to a really ecumenical union. Recently, the term Greater Sion was discarded and a new organization was born without modifying. Quite the contrary, the spirit and the substratum of things. And, quote, in order to organize in an orderly manner the different forces of activity, the Sion still remains as a soul, a spirit, which will pervade the groups and inspire their work, end quote. Thus, a host of new groups, Catholic, Protestant, free thinking, now apparently autonomous, are invited to set to work.
Okay, and here's another quote. This is footnote 18. This is Marc Sangnier speaking in Paris in May of 1910. So this is the very year that the Pius X will condemn the Sion. So this is in May. Pope St. Pius X would write this document when?
1910, but which
Same year, but what month? August.
August 25th.
Yeah, August. All right, here's Marc Sangnier. Go on.
quote, Catholic comrades will work between themselves in a special organization and will learn and educate themselves. Protestant and free-thinking Democrats will do likewise on their own side. But all of us, Catholics, Protestants, and free-thinkers, will have at heart to arm young people, not in view of the
Fratricidal struggle. That's
but
brother killing brother.
in view of a disinterested emulation in the field of social and civic virtues.
So what's Marc Sangnier saying? In a nutshell, anybody?
Religious indifference.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what you believe. Let's all work together to build a better world, basically. False charity, false love.
He's putting the social progress above religion.
Yes, above truth. Yes. Here is a quote. I'm diverting here. Marc Sangnier was called a new Messiah by some of the youngsters. Their whole principle is based on the toleration of false ideas. Here's Marc Sangnier in 1904. Here's what he said. Pay attention. When people rebuke us for the lack of precise statements, lack of definition, right? Just like Vatican II, lacked what?
Definition.
Yeah. When people rebuke us for the lack of definition that can, up until now, be drawn from the efforts of our friends, people forget that this lack of precise statements is perhaps the best guarantee of the scientific honesty of our method. Follow the heart, not dogmas and definitions, he says. Follow the hearts, not dogmas and definitions. That's the modern world. That's Vatican II. Renouncing reason, they start with the heart. And he goes on, besides, we didn't know where we're going. We don't know where we're going, he says. So we're building in false, there's no definition, there's no precision, we don't know where we're going.
That's why they don't want to be exact, because they don't have a final end.
Right.
Sounds like a Disney movie. Follow your heart.
And here's Cardinal Ratzinger about ecumenism and interreligious dialogue. Cardinal Ratzinger. The end of all ecumenical effort is to attain the true unity of the Church. For the moment, I wouldn't dare venture to suggest any concrete realization possible or imaginable of this future Church. We are at an intermediate stage of unity in diversity. So Cardinal Ratzinger is saying the same thing. We're not really sure where we're going, this future Church, but we're at a stage where we're uniting all religions.
It's a contradiction.
That's right. And then listen to Pope John the 23rd as a cardinal. Here's what he says. This, the powerful fascination of Sagnier's words. This was a letter he wrote to the widow of Sagnier, Marc Sagnier. The powerful fascination of Sagnier's words, his spirit, had enchanted me, and from my early years as a priest, I maintained a vivid memory of his personality, his political and social activity. That's John the 23rd. So he's a hero. He's a fan of Marc Sagnier that was condemned by Pius X. And then when you look at Dignitatis Humanae, how does it begin? The document on religious liberty? The opening lines is straight from the Sion. Listen to this, from Vatican II. A sense of the dignity of the human person impressed itself more and more deeply on the consciousness of contemporary man, and the demand is increasingly made that man should act on their own judgment, enjoying and making use of a responsible freedom, not driven by coercion, but motivated by a sense of duty. That's totally Zionist. So it's a certain pragmatism. What's that mean? Let's get things done. Let's work together. Let's build bridges. Let's build a better world. It doesn't really matter what you believe. And that is, again, what? Religious indifferentism, which is the motivation on which is built what lodge? Yeah, this is total Freemasonry. I wonder if Marc Sagnier was a Mason or had friends that were Masons. I wonder. Okay, 35, very serious remarks. Michael?
3 declarations.
These
Declarations and this new organization of the Zionist action call for very serious remarks.
36.
Here we have
The action reflects the philosophy. Go on.
Here we have, founded by Catholics, an interdenominational association that is to work for the reform of civilization. An undertaking which is above all religious in character. For there is no true civilization without a moral civilization, and no true moral civilization without the true religion.
Okay, this is very powerful. This is St. Pius X speaking, not Marc Sagnier. So he's saying, here we have founded by Catholics an interdenominational association, ecumenism, that is to work for the reform of civilization, an undertaking which is above all religious in character. And then he goes on to say, for there is no true what?
Civilization.
Without a
Moral civilization.
and no true
Moral civilization.
without the
True religion.
very important. This is so important. Everybody wants a true civilization. Everybody wants a moral civilization. No stealing, no murder, right? But that's not possible without
The true
True religion.
you need the Catholic religion. This is what St. Pius X is saying. It is a proven truth, a historic fact. Read on, Michael.
The new Sionists cannot pretend that they are merely working on quote, the ground of practical realities, unquote, where differences of belief do not matter. Their leader is so conscious of the influence which the convictions of the mind have upon the result of the action, that he invites them, whatever religion they may belong to, quote, to provide on the ground of practical realities the proof of the excellence of their personal convictions, end quote. And with good reason. Indeed, all practical results reflect the nature of one's religious convictions, just as the limbs of a man down to his fingertips owe their very shape to the principle of life that dwells in his body.
That's purely Masonic right there. And he's quoting Marc Sangnier again. So, the Protestants will work honestly. They won't steal and cheat. Muslims and Buddhists will work honestly. We can work together and build a new civilization. This is totally Vatican II. It's totally Vatican II. The new world order where the state will be neutral on matters of religion. The state won't profess any one religion. That's Dignitatis Humanae. That's Pope John Paul II. That's Benedict XVI. That's what Pope Leo is promoting now. Cardinal Pierre Poitiers said, the temptation will come to the church. The world, the globalists, will come to the church and say, all these kingdoms we will give you if falling down you adore him, Satan. And they turn their back on Christ the King. And we could say that basically have adored Satan for this whole one world globalist false union. So who, if you don't fit into this globalist system, if you don't agree with it, if you don't go with it, and you shout out there's only one true religion, one true God, one true Christ the King, one solution, you'll be called a nonconformist, in the least, radicalist, and eventually a terrorist. That's the new terms now. You'll be a terrorist. And we've already seen that happening. With Biden, under Biden, parents who were coming to the school boards complaining about the rotten books that the kids are getting, perverted books, promoting the whole rainbow agenda in very graphic terms and pictures. And the parents came very upset. What did Biden do? The FBI called these parents terrorists. Don't you remember that?
I believe
That
so.
was under Biden. They were labeled terrorists. So if they can do that to just parents who are upset with these filthy books, what are they going to do when priests and those traditional Catholics proclaim only one king, only one savior, only one religion, the Catholic religion, and not the conciliar one? That's why Bishop Follet, he's dancing with the devil when he drops the distinction conciliar church. And he doesn't use that term anymore, if you noticed. He doesn't believe it. But the Archbishop Lefebvre sure did. So this is Pius X. This is very powerful. Reread that part. For there is no true civilization without a
Moral civilization.
and no true moral civilization without
The
The true religion.
37, a misguided political ecumenism. Anthony.
This being said, what must be thought of the promiscuity in which young Catholics will be caught up with heterodox and unbelieving folk in a work of this nature? Is it not 1,000-fold more dangerous for them than a neutral association? What are we to think of this appeal to all the heterodox?
What's heterodox?
Kind of straight.
No, what's heterodox mean? Let's look at the... It's the blending of all beliefs. Heterodox. Heterodox refers to beliefs, opinions, or doctrines that differ from established traditional or official standards, not conforming with accepted or orthodox standards of or beliefs. So, synonyms are unorthodox, heretical, dissenting, dissident, nonconformist, blasphemous, schismatic, iconoclast, rebellious, agnostic, skeptical, unbelieving. So this is what's going on here. Heterodox. Go on.
What are we to think of this appeal to all the heterodox and to all the unbelievers to prove the excellence of their convictions in the social sphere in a sort of apologetic contest? Has not this contest lasted for 19 centuries in conditions less dangerous for the faith of Catholics? And was it not all to the credit of the Catholic Church? What are we to think of this respect for all errors, and of this strange invitation made by a Catholic to all the descendants to strengthen their convictions through study, so that they may have more and more abundant sources of fresh forces?
Okay. Invitation made by Catholics to all dissidents. That is, those who don't hold the Catholic faith. So they can strengthen their own Buddhist convictions as a Buddhist, Muslim as a Muslim, Protestant as a Protestant, through study. So that they may have more and more abundant sources of fresh forces. It's all hot air. It's all Disneyland, this whole thing. Go on.
What are we to think of an association in which all religions and even free thought may express themselves openly and in complete freedom? For the Sionists who, in public lectures and elsewhere, proudly proclaim their personal faith, certainly do not intend to silence others, nor do they intend the skeptic,
Nor do they intend to prevent
a Protestant from asserting his Protestantism, and the skeptic from affirming his skepticism. Finally, what are we to think of a Catholic who, on entering his study group, leaves his Catholicism outside the door so as to not alarm his comrades, who, quote, dreaming of disinterested social action, are not inclined to make it serve the triumph of interests, coteries, and even convictions wherever they may be? Such is the profession of faith of the new Democratic Committee for Social Action, which has taken over the main objective of the previous organization, and which, they say, quote, breaking the equivoque which surrounded the Greater Sion, both in reactionary and anti-clerical circles, end quote, is now open to all men, who respect moral and religious forces and who are convinced that no genuine social emancipation is possible without the leaven of generous idealism, end quote.
Yes, this is pure ecumenism. Do you see how the popes are implementing this program? Do you see why Archbishop Lefebvre had to consecrate 4 bishops? Because it's such a poisonous soup that everybody falls into, and it's easy to slip into this. Because it looks like charity, but it's really not. It looks friendly, it smiles and handshakes, but who isn't insulting, really?
God.
Christ the King. Is Christ exclusive?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, he is. No one could come to the Father but through me. No one could come to me unless the Father draw him. He who believes, Mark 16:16, he who believes and is,
Baptized shall be saved,
but who does not believe,
shall be condemned.
who gathers not with me,
Scattereth.
yes. This is so important. And this is the great St. Pius X. Look at him hammering away. He's condemning Vatican II. How many years before Vatican II? Vatican II was 62. This is 1910.
That was 52.
It's 2 years before.
There it is. That's why Archbishop Lefebvre said to Paul VI, unless you come back to what your predecessors, Pius X and all the good popes have taught, we can't obey you. There's no way we're going to obey you. We will rather obey all the popes before you than disobey them and obey you. And disobey all of tradition. But you see how deadly this is, and he's got the young people involved. He's got the young people psyched up about, yeah, let's build a better world. You know, all these good university students and Catholic French boys, all psyched up over what? Doing the wave in a stadium. That's about the level of it. Doing the wave. The meaningless wave. Ecumenism. That's the level of it. So, who proclaims Christ the King more and more in this world is hated. Is becoming more, you'll be labeled backward, terrorist, what else? What's other terms?
Rigid, hateful.
Rigid, nonconformist, hateful,
Uncharitable.
uncharitable. There's a key one. Yeah. You're not charitable because you don't accept the rainbow flag views. You condemn them. Yeah, well, because God condemns them. Yeah. And a lot of young people, you know, if you're in a college and they're all psyched up about this thinking, and you say, well, wait a minute, no, there's only one truth, there's only one true religion. Do you fit in?
No.
No way. But neither did St. Agnes and St. Lucy in the Roman world. They had to kill them. So we have to prefer death to conformity to this blob of goofiness and insult, such an insult to God. And what commandment does this all break?
The first.
38, reversing traditional values. Okay, so here's are my notes on your copies?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, Hindus prayer meeting in Fatima, that was permitted a number of years ago. Assisi 1, 2, and 3, Pope John Paul II, and Pope Benedict, with the Zionist ideas, Masonic ideas. All right, paragraph 38, loud and clear, Guadalupe.
Alas, yes, the equivoque has been broken. The social action of the Sion is no longer Catholic. The Zionist, as such, does not work for
For a coterie.
for a coterie. And the church, he says, quote, cannot in any sense benefit from the sympathies that his action may stimulate, end quote. A strange situation indeed. They fear lest the church should profit for a selfish and interested end by the social action of the Sion, as if everything that benefited the church did not benefit the whole human race. A curious reversal of notions. The church might benefit from social action, as if the greatest economists had not recognized and proved that it is social action alone which, if serious and fruitful, must benefit by the church. But stranger still, alarming and saddening at the same time, are the audacity and frivolity of men who call themselves Catholics and dream of reshaping society under such conditions, and of establishing on earth, over and beyond the pale of the Catholic Church, the reign of love and justice, with workers coming from everywhere, of all religions and of no religion, with or without beliefs, so long as they forego what might divide them.
Yeah, so only focus on what unites us. Let's not talk about what divides us.
Their religious and philosophical convictions, and so long as they share what unites them, a, quote, generous idealism and moral forces drawn from whence they can, end quote.
Yeah, so does a Protestant believe in the divinity of Christ?
Yes.
Most of them?
Yes.
Do they believe in heaven and hell?
Yes.
Do they believe in the Bible?
Yes.
Okay, that's all nice, right? You can agree on that. But do they accept the primacy of Peter?
No.
Do they accept the Most Holy Eucharist?
No.
Do they accept the sacrifice of the Mass?
No.
Yeah, so how can there be union with that? But this is what their dream is. Let's just focus on what unites us all. And Buddhists, they don't believe in Jesus Christ as God, nor the Bible, but they believe in a divinity, so that can unite us. So what happens when you unite all these is you don't dare bring up what's going to be divisive. So you hide the
Truth.
And St. Paul says, rejoicing in the truth. There can't be charity without truth, says St. Pius X and Cardinal P. To speak of charity without the truth is a fallacy. It's built on sand. So I hope you're following, and I hope you're getting what Pius X is really saying here. Because he's condemning all the errors of Vatican II, the New Mass, and the modern world. Pick it up.
When we consider the forces, knowledge, and supernatural virtues which were necessary to establish the Christian city, and the sufferings of millions of martyrs, and the light given by the fathers and doctors of the Church, and the self-sacrifice of all the heroes of charity, and a powerful hierarchy ordained in heaven, and the streams of divine grace, the whole having been built up, bound together, and impregnated by the life and spirit of Jesus Christ, the wisdom of God, the Word made man. When we think, I say, of all this, it is frightening to behold new apostles eagerly attempting to do better by a common interchange of vague idealism and civic virtues. What are they going to produce? What is to come out of this collaboration? A mere verbal and
Chimerical. Chimerical means dreamy, unreal, fantastical. So what will become of all this collaboration without the Catholic truth? Vague idealism and civic virtues, honesty, responsibility, duty. These are civic virtues, right? What are they going to produce? What is to come? A mere what?
verbal and chimerical construction, in which we shall see, glowing in a jumble, and in seductive confusion, the words liberty, justice, fraternity, love, equality, and human exaltation, all resting upon an ill-understood human dignity. It will be a tumultuous agitation, sterile for the end proposed, but which will benefit the less utopian exploiters of the people. Yes, we can truly say that the Sion, its eyes fixed on a chimera, brings socialism in its train.
Yeah, socialism is the fruit of these ideas, ecumenical ideas. Socialism, which is another word for?
Communism.
Yeah. You see how how accurate St. Pius X is condemning this. He was sharp to pick all this up at that time, because this was all very subtle. And it's all explicit now and promoted and highlighted with Vatican II. So liberation theology is an example of this, which was to, get the poor people in South America to act against the rich and stir a revolution. That's liberation theology. And they'll say our Lord his purpose was to stir up the poor against the rich. But that's not what our Lord stood for. And then the priest worker movement, that was a big thing in France, which was Cardinal Suard fell into this error. He was a French cardinal. And the priests thought, well, let's convert people. Let's go to work at Walmart. Let's go get a job there, work in lay clothes, and working among them will lead people to the church. And let's go to the workers' movement. Let's go to the mines. Let's go to the railroad tracks. Let's go get jobs at the mechanic shop, and we're going to convert people that way. But the opposite happened. I mean, maybe there was some success here or there, but in general, it was a disaster. Why? I mean, just common sense. The priest is working with all these other workers, and there's the pretty secretary. And many of these priests ended up getting married. So they go into the world to become of the world, and they lose their vocations. What a deception, right? Huge deception. But this was a big movement in France. And Pius XII had to condemn the worker movement of priests. Seminarians too. Seminarians go get a job, and you're not, when you go home, you're not allowed to go get a job at Walmart or the mechanic shop or JCPenney, or you're not allowed to keep your vocation. And you're going to do a month of apostolate here or at the retreats or the boys' camp or whatever. But a good way to lose your vocation is go work in the world. So, yeah, but I need money. Well, ask your parents, ask grandparents, ask St. Joseph, ask for benefactors that could help. But this is all very, very important here. Right? A humanitarian dream, 39, Michael.
We fear that worse is to come. The end result of this developing promiscuousness, the beneficiary of this cosmopolitan social action can only be a democracy which will be neither Catholic, nor Protestant, nor Jewish. It will be a religion for socialism.
Sionism.
For Sionism. So the leaders have said is a religion. More universal than the Catholic Church. Uniting all men become brothers and comrades at last in the kingdom of God. Quote, "We do not work for the church, we work for mankind."
Yes, very slippery. Next, paragraph 40, towards the one world church. Agitatorium nostrum in omni Domini.